Okay, so once again, my name is Vasco Ayere Aboka, the founder for Center for Generational Leaders, an NGO that is dedicated and committed to empowering rural youth and women for sustainable development. And on a weekly basis, we try to host some of these webinars or discussions to have an interaction around issues that affect our personal, professional, as well as career development as people, as young people. And we do so by bringing people who have gone through the process, people who have accomplished in their professions or their area of interest or expertise, and they will share with us. And so that is why usually when we're doing this study abroad webinars or discussions, we don't just bring people or anyone to come onto the platform to talk to us, but we bring people who have actually gone through the process, and not just any other people, but international people, for that matter, Ghanaian citizens who were once also in Ghana or other parts of the globe, like you are right now, to give you what the requirements are in order for you to apply and then get to study in that country. I must say New Zealand is one of the top destinations for international students and workers as well, because New Zealand promised a lot of variety of opportunities for international students. And so today we are privileged to have Dr. Safo and Dr. Adadi joining us all the way from New Zealand. And I remember in one of the seminars, someone was like, New Zealand is too far. Yes, New Zealand is too far. And for those of you in Ghana, for you to know how too far New Zealand is from you currently, as you are in 7 p.m. on Saturday, they are in 7 a.m. on Sunday. So almost 12 hours, 24 hours different. So that tells you how far they are from you. So please, let's make the best out of this. And as I've always said, you shouldn't participate in this for the sake of participating, but you should ensure that the information you get here, you use it to your benefit and to the benefit of your society. And for the fact that I will just always have to, make a sacrifice in this case, joining at this early morning from New Zealand, you should not just let your participation be on the call, but participate actively, engage, ask questions wherever you don't understand, and also ensure that the information you get here, you share with your networks. All right, thank you so much. And I will now take the honor to welcome my guests to the platform and for them to introduce themselves, and then we get started. So I will start with Dr. Adadi. Dr. Adadi, please, can you give us a quick, brief, and for that matter, elaborate introduction about yourself?
Okay. Thank you, Vasco, and good morning to your cherished listeners. And thank you for having me. So I'm Paris, a Ghanaian, and I had my Bachelor of Science Education in Ghana, specifically University for Development Studies, where I studied agri-technology and majored in biotechnology. So after my service, after national service, I had a scholarship to study in Russia from the Russian Ministry of Education. So where I studied masters in food biotechnology at the Ural Federal University in Yekaterinburg. So when I finished my masters, I went to St. Petersburg, that's ITMO University, where I started a PhD there as well. So, but I didn't like the program due to one or two reasons. So I was there for 2 years. So it was my second year that I came to New Zealand to study my PhD in food science. And I graduated last year, December. So yeah. So basically, that is who I am.
All right. Thank you so much, and congratulations
Thank you.
on your PhD graduation. In fact, it's one of the hassles most students usually go through, from admission to thesis defense, and finally getting admitted into the degree. Congratulations. Dr. Sabo, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, good morning from New Zealand as well. As he said, my name is Christian Safo, but you can just simply call me Chris. It makes it easier for everybody. I am from the University of Ghana. I studied the famous sociology and linguistics. From there, I moved to South Korea, and then I pursued my master's in global business and entrepreneurship, and moved from South Korea straight to New Zealand, and I just recently finished my PhD in management. Before leaving Ghana, I worked at Kumasi Technical University, formerly K Poly, at the Department of Liberal Studies, and I also worked at International Community School, the Kumasi branch, before moving to South Korea and then moving to New Zealand subsequently. My field is, like I said earlier, is in the business school in the management area. So hopefully I'll be able to provide quite some good responses to any of the queries that people may have today. And I'm looking forward to today's session as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. That's a wonderful introduction, and then congratulations on your PhD journey. And I just want to ask you a follow-up on your introduction before we zoom into, though it may also form part of this discussion. You did linguistics and sociology and linguistics from the University of Ghana. Okay.
Yes.
So is it transitioning from sociology and linguistics to business, global business and entrepreneurship?
Okay, so
was it kind of a hassle? Was it a difficulty you had to overcome, or it was just a natural or normal application process for you?
Okay, let me put it this way. Usually anything can be reworded to align with whatever field you are sort of trying to move into. So when I was applying, most times you need to write a cover statement, or what they call a statement of purpose. And I made sure that I aligned the course I was going to do. There's a relationship between sociology and business. So I wrote the cover letter in a way that I show the linkages between sociology and the business field. And then there's something that we did, language in business. So I aligned those two courses that I did, and then aligned it directly to the business field. Luckily for me, I did business in high school. So I made sure that I aligned them as clearly as I could, so that when they are reading that statement of purpose, they can see that, oh, okay, this is where he is coming from. And so that was very important in my ability to do that as well.
All right, thank you so much. And Chris, I asked this question because in past sessions, I've always made people understand that the course you study in the university, it is not a recipe for success or failure, because we get people asking at 30 days, is there hopes for me? No, that any course you study, as long as it's a bachelor's degree and you completed it successfully, you are already on the path to success. What you now need to know is to know yourself and what you want. I'm sure probably most of us in our minds, and as we already know, we think that when you are going to the university, you have to study medicine, law, or engineering before you can be successful. That is not the case. Today, Chris holds a PhD. Perhaps his colleagues who were in medical school with him at the time, or law school at the time with him, have not obtained their PhDs yet. And of course, obtaining the PhD as the highest academic qualification qualifies him to be a lecturer. He will go back, or wherever he's lecturing or he wants to lecture, he could probably lecture some of them when they're about to do their master's or PhD later. So that is why it's also important that when you are starting your application process, stop giving your application to these educational agents or consults who call themselves, they are just going to write anything for you, because the truth is that they may take your CV and look at your transcript. Some of them do not have the quality it takes to draft a personal statement. And that is why it's always even called a personal statement, or letter of intent, or whatever it may be called. It's something that you are supposed to look within yourself, your career aspirations, goals, and what you studied both in high school. And as you said, Chris said, he combined both his high school studies and then his undergrad education to make a case for what? For a master's in global business. So that is why you shouldn't limit yourself in the search for what you do. Just know what you want, and then hopefully you get to Praise.
Yeah.
Your journey seemed straightforward within the food sciences industry. How was it like from moving from Ghana to Russia? Was there any language barrier processes you had to overcome? Like, what was the requirement? How was the journey like? So I guess today we'll be lucky to be doing at least 3 countries: Russia, South Korea, and then New Zealand.
Thank you, Vasco. Yeah, like I was kind of, I would say that I was lucky, because we were the second batch of that program, the food biotechnology, so which was specifically designed for like English, so that like the medium of instruction should be in English. However, like because it's Russian government scholarship, like they required you to do like Russian language course, which is like once a week, every Friday. However, like you need to get a good grade in that Russian language. Other than that, your stipend will be decreased. So it was kind of a motivation for you to take it serious, because most like English speaking Africans don't take like Russian language serious. So though like it wasn't easy, because like like English and Russian is totally different thing altogether, especially the alphabet and thing. But I was able to manage. And however, like in generally, most Russians, though they speak English, but they are kind of proud. Like they don't always want to speak. So at times you need to kind of fast forward to learn the language so that you can also communicate, especially when you go to supermarket and stuff. Like, but nevertheless, at the university, yeah, you can get a lot of students, even like some of the Russian students who want to learn English, so you kind of blend together, and it was okay. And yeah, so basically, I think like it was a smooth ride for me, and like interestingly, like the professor who like instituted that program, he taught in Rwanda before for several years. So, and because we are from Africa, and our batch were like about 4 Africans and 2 Asians. So she understood our like context.
Context,
like
okay.
that's how like Africans, our way of life and things. So it was easier for me. Yeah.
Oh, wow, I see. Interesting. Do you know if the program is still being run and in English?
Yes.
Okay.
Because like when I graduated, a lot of Africans also went there, and even some also came to Australia as well for their PhD. So
For their PhD. Okay.
yeah, so the program is still running.
All right, thank you so much. During the course of the interaction, if you get chance, kindly, if you can do us a favor and then type the name of the university in the chat box. Sometimes it's difficult to get some of the name of these universities, particularly those that are not in straight English, their names right when we are speaking.
Yep.
Okay. Chris, you also went to South Korea before going to
Yes.
How was it like going to South Korea?
The one in South Korea, unlike most when I was coming to New Zealand, I needed the IELTS English test. They don't accept the Ghana English proficiency test, but South Korea didn't have that requirement. The English proficiency was okay, and my department also was a new one, like similar to Parise's own. We're the second batch in that program, and the program was fully in English. We were not required to pass any Korean examination, but we needed to study it in order to communicate outside of the classroom. Most of our lecturers were Americans and a few Koreans. And so in the classroom, the English was not a problem, wasn't an issue. Quite a number of my mates were from Brazil, some parts of Europe, mainly Africa, and then the other parts of Asia. So I think we're about a total of 20 in total. Yeah, and then we were able to sort of have the program, but outside of the classroom, we needed to study Korean so that we can communicate with people on the streets or when you go to the market. Some people may understand English, but they don't feel proficient enough. So when they meet you, they won't even speak it to you. So you would have to still study the language in order to be able to communicate outside of the classroom.
Yeah.
So that's how ours was. We'll put the name of the department. If anybody is interested in applying, yeah, I think you can also look at that as well. That may be an easier route for some people, at least it was for me, in terms of getting to where I am today.
All right. Thank you so much. So how was social life like in South Korea as a student, and particularly as an international student? Did you have the opportunity to interact with the larger South Korean society beyond your campus or your classmates?
Yes, you did, but if I may be honest, South Korea has built an amazing country, but they have not built an amazing country to include Black people.
Okay.
So in as much as they are developing very well, it is quite hard for you to, after school, be able to successfully succeed there. In terms of job placement, in terms of, I mean, after school, I know I had friends who apply for jobs. They'll go for the interview. They'll tell them, sorry, I'm not going to take you because you're Black. I got a job to teach English. So I needed to switch from student visa to work visa. We went and the immigration officer said that they are not going to give me the work visa because I'm from Ghana.
Wow.
And that they don't think Ghanaians are qualified enough to teach English. And then the people who are hired me, Koreans, they said, oh, he has qualification linguistics to teach. And then he also has, we've trained him for 6 months. So he has additional qualification. The immigration officer still said no. So
wow.
in as much as they've developed, there are still structures in place that are not really favorable for us. Some people are doing well for themselves, definitely. Those who are able to become very proficient in Korean, they are able to be more successful. So if you do ever find yourself in South Korea, I would recommend that to make sure you try your very best to learn the language as much as you can, because that will be your biggest ticket to being able to succeed in that country. But overall, they have a lot of cultural curiosity, or what I call cultural curiosity. They are interested in learning about other places. They are interested in becoming the next superpower. So whatever advantages that they feel they can make, they are working very hard to do that. But yeah, that was the overall experience in the South.
Wow, interesting. Paris, how was it like for you in Russia? Was it more flexible as
Oh yeah. Yeah, like in Russia, like Chris' experience is quite like opposite to what I experienced in Russia.
okay.
And like in Russia, like most like the universities, even like they always want you to engage in like in research aside from your studies. So at least like we were quite like fortunate, and even a lot of some of the Black guys who are proficient in Russians, like they are able to get jobs, and even some into teaching. Yeah, so the atmosphere there was quite different from Chris' experience
I
in
see.
Korea. Yeah.
So was it the case that if you wanted to search for a job, you would have found one?
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even like they later brought this law, like if you get first class, like the masters in Russia, they call it red diploma. So if you get it, so
Okay.
you can apply for like residency. So like you won't be like applying for student visa like maybe yearly or maybe 2 years. Yeah. So it was quite okay. Yeah. And I know like a number of guys who have gotten their residency and some have finished their PhDs and working there full time. Yeah.
Oh wow. Then that's
Though
progressive.
yeah, though like nevertheless at times like some of the old people like those Soviet people mostly are kind of suspicious of blacks, like they thought you are maybe spying for United States or
Yes.
something like that. Yeah. And like most of their Russian Academy of Sciences, and you know that is they are well funded. Mostly like they don't kind of allow foreigners to be participating. Yeah. However, like the universities, they are open. Yeah. But the Russian Academy of Sciences is quite rigorous, like with regards to funding and research. Yeah.
Research.
Yeah. Though like I had some a colleague of mine who continued his PhD there. Like eventually, like, he was incorporated into the one of the Russian Academy of Sciences. So
Wow.
he did a very good like research and he learned a lot of things. But like he later came and finished his PhD in Australia. They joined PhD between the Ura Federal University and that Australian university.
Oh, wow. And if you apply and then get the residence after the first class in the red diploma, how is it like getting Russian citizenship as an international student or a foreign national?
Yeah, I think like I think it's quite like because like I wasn't interested in to stay there, so like I was those things wasn't like I wasn't like interested, so I'm not quite savvy like when it comes to
those things. Okay, all right. And finally, Ireland is extremely cold. How are you guys coping?
Oh yeah, like Russia is yeah, like it's kind of very cool, like especially where I did my master's, the tremble. At times it can go below 40, 50. It's quite, you know, like because Russia mostly they have this central heating system that mostly like is powered by nuclear reactors. So if you are cold outside and enter in a building, even toilets are heated. Yeah, so it was quite okay. And when you are going now, you need to wear warm clothing and stuff.
And is it like that throughout the whole year or seasonal?
No. It's seasonal, like during winter. But during summer, at times it can be very hot. And during summer it's very hot, and mostly this season, what is the name of
summer?
No, autumn. The autumn is quite like a mild, cold, but in the winter, which is always like the issue. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And Chris, just before we go to New Zealand, how was the weather like in South Korea?
It was similar. We didn't get to -40, but we were getting to -20.
Wow.
But when you get there, the jackets that they use is they have very special jackets like that you can actually use and it keeps you warm when you're outside, and there's this thing called heat packs. So you just buy from any regular store and then you put it in your gloves and immediately it starts to heat. Immediately you take out of the package. It doesn't burn your hand, but it keeps it warm for like about 10 hours.
Wow.
So that's what most people use. Yeah. And then we have central heating as well in the building. So immediately you enter into any building, as long as the heating is turned on, you will not feel cold.
I see.
Yeah, you survive.
Interesting to know. Did you have the opportunity to visit our uncle Kim Jong-un?
We go to the border. There's a place where they call the demilitarized zone.
Okay.
So we just go to the border and then they showed us the number of tunnels and holes that they are trying to dig to spy on South Korea. And then
Wow.
they showed us all of those things, but then there's a point where they call the no man's land. They
Okay.
just take you to the edge and then they show you this vast area of land where neither countries step into. If
Okay.
they step into the other will shoot whoever is found there. So yeah, we just got to that point.
Interesting. Interesting. Thank you so much. That was just by the way. So now
Yeah.
I think since New Zealand is your very or current places of study, you might be more familiar and conversant with the admission processes, at least as it relates to your level of study
Yeah.
as compared to your previous, that is your master's distance. So if both of you could take turns, and if anyone leave out anything, then you add up the requirements for admission to New Zealand. Let's assume that maybe someone wants to apply for master's or PhD in New Zealand. And what are the requirements? I know you've already mentioned that New Zealand requires English proficiency. Is it kind of universal across all their universities? Do they require other standardized tests like GRE, GMAT, and stuff, particularly you in the business aspect?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know Paris is also in the sciences, so maybe if it were in the US, some schools would demand the GRE and stuff. What are the admission requirements as it relates to the New Zealand graduate schools?
Okay. If I will start in Paris, you can just chip in the potholes I may leave out.
Okay.
Over here, the departmental requirements are the ones which are very important, not necessarily the university's requirement. University has an overall broader one, but you need to look at the departmental requirements because they each differ. Even in the business school, if you want to go to the Department of Finance and Accounting, they require international students to have GRE. But the Department of Management will indicate that GRE is a bonus. It's a plus. It's not a requirement. So and the rules keep changing because I remember that now the rules in the Department of Finance has changed. Even in the Department of Management as well has changed. Right now, when you go to management, you not see GRE as an advantage there anymore. They've taken it out. So the rules keep changing. So you need to look at what the department says. My department requires you to have the English proficiency, which is IELTS. They don't accept the Ghanaian standard English proficiency letters that our universities give to us. So you need to have that. I had a GRE already because when I was applying, I noticed that quite a number of schools wanted that. So I had it under my belt, so I still submitted that. They needed a proposal, which is the proposal is the proposal, and then your statement of purpose will be the most important thing. And what that they use the proposal to do is that they use to see whether they can find supervision for you. So the proposal, if your idea is good and nobody in the department can supervise you, there's no benefit for them to even accept you in the first place. So when you're writing such proposals, you need to look at like what area you are interested in writing and then figure out what people are doing there and sort of try and align it close to the fields that people are researching in so that they can find someone to supervise you. The other thing is that your statement of purpose is where you have to sell yourself as to what they will benefit when they so to speak, when they admit you as a student. So that one is also quite important. And any evidence of research. So if you have published a paper, if you've gotten any research award, if especially for the PhD level, the master's not so much, but at the PhD level, if you have any evidence of research, any evidence that you've published a paper, any evidence you've gotten any research awards, all those things are quite important. And it's even more important in terms of you getting funding and support. So you are more likely to get a stipend and research funding if you have published a paper before than if you have not. You might get admission, but then they might not give you the funding that you require for that. Yeah, so yeah, Paris, have I covered most of the things?
Yes, you did. But
Yeah.
I can chip in if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, yeah. So as Chris mentioned, like Otago General has its like general admission criteria. However, each department also has their way of recruiting either masters or PhD students. And for example, like we the sciences, mostly like they have funded projects. So funded project maybe the supervisor or group of researchers who have won some amount of money from the New Zealand government to carry out some research. In the case of mine, it was funded by the MBA, so that's the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Science of the New Zealand government. So basically, like let's for example, the food sciences, mostly your first point of contact is the department. And if you are contacting the department, you have to attach your certificate, your transcript, CV, copy of your thesis, and statement of purpose, and proposal. However, in our case, or the food science department, the proposal comes after like the department finds someone who is, or maybe any professor who is interested in your CV and maybe wants you to work on a project or something like that. So for example, let me take myself as a case studies. So me, like when I send those documents, so his supervisor, then he won a grant with it was like he won it along with a professor from the Auckland University. So they wanted a student to work on effect of audible sound on yeast during beer fermentation. And because my master's was in fermentation as well, so I was more aligned. However, even they posted that that project on Fine PhD, so it expired. However, I sent my document like 2 months before, so that's because of that he sent the link and asked me to read if I'm interested. So after reading, I said yes, I'm interested. So he organized this in an interview. So they interviewed me. So a few days, I was asked to draft a proposal. So I drafted, and like the funding could have paid my stipend and the fees as a domestic. In New Zealand, like both international and citizens pay the same fees. So there's no any like international fee for like a
But that's
PhD.
only at the PhD level. The master's is different. It's
Okay.
only
Yes,
at the
yes, yes.
PhD level that everybody pays domestic fees, but master
Yeah,
students pay international fees.
yeah. So like after writing, so I made someone to proofread it and I sent it to edit, send it back. I did so, and like, but then I had like, is it 5 publications? So he said with this and yeah, with my research background and publication, I'm highly I'm highly likely to win the Otago doctoral scholarship. So he made me to apply that one as well. So like when it came, and like interestingly, I was waived for the English IELTS stuff because of those publications, because your post supervisor can't lead the way for the graduate school to waive that English exam. So I didn't submit IELTS like like crazy did, yeah. So though it's quite like individual cases, so yeah. So I
Wow.
Yeah, so
think
if
yeah,
you do have that evidence of publication and at least it's English, they can waiver those things for you sometimes, but not all the time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
those are
yeah.
some of the unique cases. Unlike Paris's department, my department requires you to have all those things up front before they will organize an interview with you. And that's because unlike them, we don't get that pre-approved funding. So they want to make sure that whoever is coming in has checks all the boxes and will be able to sort of meet the standard of requirements to do the PhD. But you do need to get the funding, to be honest, from experience. Almost everybody who gets funding has some level of research publication. I did not have any publication when I started. However, I had one award at my master's that's said outstanding research student. And then I had submitted my master's thesis to a journal already. So I had a copy of the acceptance letter that they said that they were reviewing it. It hadn't yet been published. So I attached that to my application when I was submitting. So even though I hadn't yet published anything, I had that award and the fact that I had already submitted, I added it, and then that was I believe that was crucial in getting funding when I started.
All right. Thank you so much. So I'll just chip in before I come in to ask a follow-up question. So those of you who are here, you are undergrad students, you have finished maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, you had the opportunity to do a group or individual project work or research work, depending on the university you went to. You realize that these things comes handy when you need them. So please, if you did an individual project work and you haven't got the opportunity to publish it or submit it for publication, I would recommend that you reach out to your supervisor and you talk about it. Maybe you just revise literature to see if your findings or what the literature is in, you discuss and look for a journal and submit. If it's also a group project, you can do the same thing. Reach out to your group members, suggest that you submit it for journal publication. Depending on the number of team members who are interested, you reach out to your supervisor, then you can work it out and then what submit. There is no harm in trying. Maybe it may not be a high impact journal, but at least you have it published, especially if it's a credible journal. And that is one thing you also know. Don't just throw your paper to any journal that is asking for a paper, but ensure that you are publishing in a credible journal, because they also check those ones, particularly at PhD levels, because they want to ensure that your work was of quality and standard.
I wanted to say before you move on, Vasco, I wanted to say this especially. So thank you for saying that. There are some journals that they call them predatory journals, and those ones are very easy to publish in, like extremely easy. But then you'd realize at the end of the day you have wasted your time because the universities don't respect those journals. They don't consider them worthy. So if you're interested in business, I'm going to put a link on the chat page. You can look at something that they call a journal quality list. For those of you who are interested in the business field, all areas of business, tourism, finance, accounting, management, strategy, whatever it may be, you can look at that journal quality list. If the higher the quality ranking, the more difficult it is in. So you can look at, say, publishing in the C category or the B category journals. If you have a journal publication in any of these categories, C or B, you would be very much likely to get into any PhD or even a master's program. So if you can, for those of you in the business field, you can use that as a check for yourself. And it's an internationally respected quality list as well. So you can use it, like if you find a journal you want to submit to, check if it's on the quality list, check the ranking. The higher the ranking, the more difficult it is to publish in. So and of course the lower the one, the slightly easier to publish in there. So if you are at the very start, you can look at a B or a C category journal and then submit your work there. It makes it a bit easier.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, like let me chip into.
Okay.
Like with regards to the sciences, like as Chris mentioned, like we have something we call impact factor and the publisher. So you have to be very careful to look at the impact factor and the publisher. So mostly I would recommend you to publish in Elsevier as a publisher, Springer, Taylor and Francis, Frontier.
Sage.
Yeah, so like, however, like it depends the quality of your research as well, because if the quality is low, you can't no high impact journal will accept it. Yeah, and please be careful, like avoid most of the Ghanaian journals. They are not of any value. And yeah, so I think when you mostly
Parise, what do you mean by most of the Ghanaian journals? Which journals are those?
Oh, most Ghanaian journals are not indexed in their Scopus or Web of Science. So and also that's a point I forgot to mention. Mostly published in journal that are index in Scopus or Web of Science. So look at those criteria. And also, like one thing we all forgot to mention is the class. If you
But
are doing your BSc, try to get upper.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, because with lower at Otago, you will not get
funding.
funding, because some time ago, some random comment that I saw a guy who completed masters abroad. However, it's like his bachelor's degree had lower. So I knew someone at Otago that his masters aligned to. So I recommended him to contact the fellow. So when he contacted, the fellow like two didn't check that, and so he progressed and even find another supervisor to co-supervise with. So later at the department level, they said no, the guy at the bachelor level he had lower. So like it's not possible. Like the university will not give him scholarship, so they don't want to waste time. So it was about a month. So I saw the person. I asked, this guy contacted you. So he told me that he had lower the bachelor, though his master's was good. So that's one thing you have to be careful of. If
Yeah.
you, when you're at the university, yes, you chill, but chill and know, chill and use some time to like
But
learn for your exams to get good grades and class.
that is not to say if you had a lower, you don't have any chances. If you had a lower, make sure that you have extra things to compensate for it, like the
Absolutely. Yes.
publications, like
Yes.
some award
I agree.
somewhere to compensate for the lower. Because the honest truth is that if you did get a lower, it makes it the application
Difficult.
process more difficult
Yep.
for at least from my experience. Most
Yep.
people who are lower, they try several times and it's quite difficult. But if you have other things to compensate, you've worked in a very niche industry, or you've worked on a project that is very interesting, or you have these other publications, it makes your case a bit easier to argue in terms like that.
Okay, thank you. Praise, when you were speaking, you talked that your first point of contact was your department. When you say first point of contact, is it the case that when you want to apply for admission, you need to reach out to a supervisor or a department before you begin the process of applying?
Well,
Chris or Paris?
Paris.
okay, I can go.
Okay.
Okay. Like the food science specifically, you have to contact the department first. We have the department postgraduate office. So you have to send all the documents I mentioned, your certificate, CV, copy of your thesis, statement of purpose, and probably a proposed title with maybe short, mostly like it shouldn't be something big, just a proposal that now like if they receive that, they will circulate it amongst someone that some of the researcher who expertise align with that proposed title. So if you are now successful, they will now move it, like take it forward. So you don't send like first contact directly to the
Yeah.
professors. In food science, we don't do that. But I don't know of the other departments. So probably Chris can also
No,
check.
my department is very similar. When you go to the university website, they'll indicate, and it's right there. They said do not contact any supervisor on your own. Supervisors will be recommended. But other departments require you to, I know other departments require you to first find a supervisor before they would even start the process. But mine is similar to what Paris said. So you need to actually go to the department website and look at what the rules and the requirements are. Because if they are saying don't contact and you go and contact, that will sort of be a disadvantage to you. So you just look at what the rules are saying and then just follow that one.
All right, thank you so much for that information. And to our cherished audience, as I've always said, an easy way for you to find universities to apply to is to use our hosts as our guests as our starting points. For instance, both Chris and Paris have gone to two different countries before going to New Zealand. So at least when you find them on LinkedIn, you probably see where they did their masters. That is a first point of contact. You can go and look at that university where they are doing their where they did their PhDs. You can also go there, at least use their universities as a point of contact. Otherwise, you don't even know the universities in New Zealand and what they offer. Just go on your Google and Google universities in New Zealand. You can add whatever program you want to study. Maybe that offer PhD or masters in business or entrepreneurship or whatever the case is, or whatever you are looking out for. At least Google will return some useful information to you. Then you through that filter and get into the university's website. I don't know, that New Zealand has a centralized website where all their universities or higher institutions can be found.
They don't have an official one, but then there are these bloggers who just put all of them together. So you can find those ones online, but then they don't have a centralized one that I know of. It's just the ones by the various blogs.
Okay, all right.
Thank
you.
Yeah. So and also officially, like New Zealand has 8 universities.
Yeah.
So I'll start with University of Otago. That's where myself and Chris graduated. University of Auckland, Victoria University of Wellington, University of Canterbury. So like if you are into forestry, so you should look at University of Canterbury. And we have University of Waikato in Hamilton. You have Lincoln University. So if you want agric economics, agric stuff, so you have to go to Lincoln. And we have Massey University. So Massey too, they do engineering, veterinary stuff too. So if you are interested in those fields. And the Auckland University of Technology. So basically, these are the universities in New Zealand. Because New Zealand is a small country of 5.1 million people. So the universities are not many as US or Australia. Yeah.
Wow, and, that's interesting to know. And
and okay, let me also add something to with regards to in New Zealand, their bachelor's degree officially is 3 years. So, however, after the 3 years, if you want, you do another 1 year intensive research, which they call dissertation.
Honors.
So, yes, they call it honors. So, if you do that 1 year, so you'll give you BSc in honors. And if you get first class or B plus, yeah, that is like upper. So you can just go straight and do your PhD. And they have postgraduate certificate, which is 6 months, and postgraduate diploma, which is also 1 year. So mostly like foreign, as I know, my department, mostly like those from other countries that come with bachelor's, they'll come and do postgraduate diploma 1 year, and they'll transition into PhD. And master's 1 year or 1 year to 2 years, and PhD is 3 years, but some goes to 4 years. Yeah, and like masters, assuming maybe if you're in Ghana, you know, in Ghana we have MPhil and masters, and the masters is like course. Is it they call it? Is it
taught masters or coursework?
So like if you do taught masters in Ghana, it's highly unlikely that you might not be, they won't admit you into a PhD. So if you are doing your master, try to do the MPhil, which is 2 years, and you have your thesis. Yeah. So, yep.
But I think that some of the taught masters in Ghana, especially University of Ghana, they are now adding a last semester like research component. So if you have that research component and it's even a taught one, they will still admit you. You'll be likely to get the PhD. But yeah, like you said, if there's no research component at all, then you can forget about it.
Yeah. No, but like in my department, for example, they are kind of very strict with regards to how many months have you, like, is your research intensiveness.
Yeah.
As you mean, if you do 1 year masters, to be honest, the courseworks are many. So how many?
Yeah.
Like the number of time you spend on your research is minimal. So
yeah,
my department is highly unlikely that they might not.
Yeah. Wow. So you mentioned about the New Zealand bachelors being able to qualify you for a PhD. Do you know of the international bachelors? If I have bachelors from Ghana, I have a first class,
no,
maybe with or without qualification, can I do a PhD straight?
No, you can't.
No, in New Zealand, no, but in Australia, yes, because I know Dr. Dominic in my department. He had first class from KNUST, and he came to Australia and did his PhD directly. And I know
The
another
one in
person.
Australia that you're talking about, they have what they call the joint masters and PhD program. So usually they would have you do like 1 year, like full master's program, and then just switch you over immediately to the PhD. But New Zealand doesn't do that over here.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I know both of you were on scholarships, and maybe it was at a PhD level. Do you know of work requirements or opportunity for international students whilst you are studying in New Zealand?
Yeah, there's no, at least according to my visa, there's no limitations to the work requirements. So if you're on scholarship, the scholarship certificate would usually say that you're not allowed, you should not work more than is it 10 or 12 hours Paris a week?
No, like it depends. It
Yeah.
depends on the state. Like with masters, the though yeah, the university rules are there, but the immigration rule
Yeah,
is
the
not.
immigration rules are also different. So the university, if the
Well,
university gives you a scholarship, they'll say we recommend that you do not work above, like, say 10 hours, but your
yeah,
immigration letter will state that there's no limit to where or the number of hours you can work.
yeah, and like the for PhDs, like if you get your visa, you have unlimited work right.
Yeah.
But with regards to masters and bachelors, you can't work more than 20 hours per week. But with PhD, you can. However, yes, you can work unlimited, but your research is spying you, so you
Yeah.
can't go and working all the time. By the time you see 3 years, so and you know, like the PhD level, we have something we call 6-month progress, 1 year and 2 years. So it's more or less like they are tracking your progress. So if you are working outside university a lot, definitely your progress will be daily, and you don't want that kind of issue with your
Issue.
supervisor and stuff. Yeah.
I see. And with
Yep.
the
And
with the PhD
and
fund-
also
okay.
wait, and also let me come in. You know, as like North American, you like the PhD, you have coursework. In New Zealand and Australia, you don't have coursework. It's more or less like research intensive. So that progress report is kind of using to track your progress, because the university will not be giving you money for you to come and be kind of wasting time, maybe doing extra jobs outside. Yeah, so like that is the difference between like the American and the New Zealand Australian.
And then I think one thing I would recommend is that if for those of you who are here, if you want to come and do a PhD, especially here in New Zealand or Australia even, if you don't get the scholarship, I would still recommend that you find a good bank statement that can support you, and then get to be able to apply for the visa and then come. If you come here, you will be able to find work that you can work on the weekends or maybe 3 times a week, and still be able to earn good enough money to pay for your fees, and then still be able to go to school and then do good work. You won't have any money, spare money to do anything, but because PhD, you pay local domestic fees, you don't pay international fees, it makes the burden a bit easier. So for those of you who already have your master's and you want to apply for a PhD, if you don't get the funding in Australia or New Zealand, I would still recommend you come over to the country. And whilst you are in the system, after I think every 6 months, you are eligible to reapply for scholarship, at least at Otago. You can reapply if you publish a paper or you get whatever it may be, you can reapply for a scholarship whilst you are within the program.
Wow,
Yeah.
Interesting. So my question, the follow-up was around that area. So is it the case that when you are given the PhD funding, you are not expected, or the department doesn't give you, if you like, work component, like it's not a work component where you are required to do either RA or TA jobs?
No. It's not
You know,
a
like,
requirement, but you do those ones to boost your CV. So yeah, most of the jobs that you'll probably be able to get after that, being a teaching fellow, a research fellow, will just enhance your CV. So even though you are not required to do that, it's kind of expected for you to do that. And it's paid. It's not free labor. You are paid for it, even though the money they don't pay you as well as they should compared to what others would receive if you are not a student, but it's still good for you to get that. Sorry, Paris, I cut into you.
No, like that was what I wanted to say. In the American and Canada, they have graduate research assistant, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
however, in the case of New Zealand, Australia, the scholarship is free. So any job you are doing, maybe demonstrator or research fellow within something, you are being paid in addition to that. So it's free. Unlike American and Canada that
Wait, the US doesn't pay, they don't pay their graduate students for that job?
No.
The graduate student is part of your award package, so you can be
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you are working for it.
Yeah.
No, you are paid separately. Yeah.
So when they're awarding you the scholarship, sometimes you get a full scholarship with a with graduate assistantship or without graduate assistantship. In the event that you are given a full scholarship or whatever scholarship or whatever percentage scholarship with a graduate assistantship, what it means is that the graduate assistantship is a work component or employment component by the department that has given you funding. So for instance, if my department gave me a graduate assistantship, which I was required to do 15 to 20 hours per week for the department, in return, the value of that money that was assigned to me during the admission process is now being paid out to me as a stipend. So I had to work to pay for what was given to me at admission.
Okay, no, it's different over here. It's a separate component. You're not required to you're not required to do any of these things. So if you do that, it becomes an additional one. They pay you on what they call the casual employment salary. Yeah. So they will either employ you for like 6 months and then they can renew it probably every 6 months or every year, and then they'll pay you separately for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you see why you cannot miss New Zealand or the webinar to New Zealand. These are hidden information. Sometimes if the person is not in the system to explain some of these things to you, no matter how much you read, you might not be able to get some of these understanding. And I must say that I'm getting jealous of these offers. And maybe I should have come to New Zealand. But anyway, that was just by the way. So how easy is it for you to get job outside? Let's assume that I have funding or without funding, and maybe I don't want to work with the university. Are there hustling jobs outside campus that as an international?
He said hustling. Yeah, there are, when you come, there are various places that you can work, to be honest, especially if you're coming to, if you get a master's without funding, the school fees will be very expensive. I wouldn't recommend you come because you just come and suffer. But if it's the PhD, and you don't get funding, because you're paying domestic fees, it's relatively affordable and you can get jobs outside of the university fairly easily and then be able to. I know Paris was working while he was doing his PhD in addition to what he was doing in the department. I was working as well. I was working on during the weekends at a separate organization altogether, and then also working in the department from Monday to Friday. So yeah, there are jobs available that you can easily get over here. Like there's jobs, they need people to work over here. The only problem is that they don't give the visas for people to easily come. So the student path is one of the easiest, unless you are coming with a medical or engineering certification already, then that one might be a different conversation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So now I know already, maybe this leads us to the next question, or probably may be obvious that if there are opportunity for students, then means that post-graduation likely is going to be easy to get a job. But how are the prospects for getting job and the scholarship you're giving? Does the department or the university require you to return to your home country immediately after the program, or you can stay as long as you want? And what are the processes involved in staying in the event that maybe immediately after completing you do not have a job available or a job offer?
So that question leads me to go back to let me just tell the audience about the scholarship in New Zealand. One, we have the university scholarships. So, and within the university scholarship, we have like the divisional scholarships as well. So maybe division of sciences. Chris, your division is what business?
Yeah,
So
Faculty of Business.
yeah. So, and also we have something we call Manaki New Zealand Scholarship, which popularly is known as NZ8. So basically, like the NZ8 is like New Zealand government maybe bringing people from developing countries, which Ghana is included, to come and study. And after your study, it's compulsory for you to go back to either Ghana or any country that you are from.
Yeah.
However, the university doctoral scholarship or the divisional scholarship is not like it's not forced for you to go back. So if you finish, you can apply for. And the good news is New Zealand, when you finish your PhD, you have post-study visa, which is
For 3 years.
Yeah, which is it's more like automatic. If you finish your study successful, they will grant you that 3 years. And if they grant, if you get the 3-year post-study and you get a field within the field, a work within the field you study, maybe food science, or you get maybe food technology, you can apply residence direct. So that is good thing. And the New Zealand aid or the Manaki scholarship, one, you have to be like 18 years and above. And they give preferences to people under 40. And you have to be living in your home country for 2 years. So in the case of myself and Chris, if we had applied that when we were in South Korea and Russia respectively, we are not eligible there. So if after completion, you have to go back to your home country to go and work or to kind of teach what you've learned here. And that scholarship too is a bit juicy because
they get more money.
Yeah, they pay like they pay your visa cost, your medical cost as well, your flight and your insurance. However, if you are bringing your family, maybe you are married and you are bringing your wife and kid, you have to kind of take care of the flight, the insurance for the kid. So like you are kind of topping up to And we have student loan, which international students are not eligible.
Yeah, you don't qualify for that.
Yeah, it's for citizens and Australian permanent residents. Yeah, and self-funded. So self-funded means probably you can get some scholarship from Ghana government to come. Because as I know, my department people came with maybe Indonesian government scholarship, this country. So that is this. So basically, these are the kind of the scholarship prospects.
What brings you here will determine whether you can stay here after you are done. Because if they give you funding, like you said, the Manaki one, and the Manaki one requires you to leave immediately, then you cannot stay. But then almost all the others, you would be eligible to apply for the post-study work visa, which is 3 years.
Yes, and the one like your country government, like Ghana government.
Yeah, the country government,
No, but like, however, Ghanaians, even recently there's news that people are afraid they don't want to go back and they are chasing them. Yeah, so
and then I think some people also like they will leave the country and then immediately, but before they leave, they apply for like Australian visas. Because especially those with the Ghana scholarship, the rules say that you're supposed to leave New Zealand. So they just leave New Zealand and go to Australia or the UK or somewhere else. So that's what people would do,
Okay. So the living is living, but wherever you go to does not really matter a lot.
No, but I think this leads us to this integrity issues because like the Ghana government said, okay, come and study and go by. And mostly some of them are lecturers at the polytechnic and the universities. Even as of last year, there was this issue about a lecturer he's now a lecturer in one of the Australian universities, but he was lecturing in Ghana. He came with Ghana government scholarship at Auckland University, finished, he went, and I think they were chasing him to pay back and a whole lot of stories. So I think like for your own like integrity sake, if you finish, just I think if you go and serve for 4 years, you can go anywhere you want.
You
Yeah.
want.
So for your listeners, if you are looking forward to applying the Ghana government one, if you come, do your best to go back and just serve. And after you serve, you can go anywhere you want. Then
But
you
let's
go
be
some-
honest, how many people get that Ghana government scholarship? It's just for the politicians and their family members.
Oh no,
So
no.
they can
No,
even
a lot of
and then
a lot
those
of
those others who get it are already people who are teaching in the polytechnics or other universities. Those ones
yes,
are
yes,
relatively well
yeah,
established.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so they are the niche, the amount of people who will be able to get those funding is very little. That's my point.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Yeah. I completely agree with you, Chris.
Yeah.
Wow, this is interesting. We've spent over an hour.
Yeah, I think if your participants have some
Yeah.
specific questions they can ask.
Yeah, so that's I'm coming to open the platform and invite questions. So at this stage, questions are welcome. You want to ask a specific question, please feel free to raise your hand and I invite you to do so that we get wrap up very soon. We've spent over an hour already and in Ghana, I know it's getting late. Our Muslim brothers are still celebrating, brothers and sisters are still celebrating. And it's Sunday in New Zealand. So our just you may want to get some time and then relax and prepare for tomorrow. Okay. I've seen some 2 hands up.
No, I think Mikuru, yeah, like he raised first.
Miku,
Yeah, and Edward.
I beg, unmute yourself and then mention your name for us and then and ask your question.
Hello, good evening. My name is Kelvin. Yes, I want to find out do the business and science sector, but I want to hit on the science sector. I want to know about in terms of schooling in the medical field. Do they have something around us? Do they have a fair idea of how that place looks like?
At the
Oh.
bachelor's level? Oh,
Hello,
No.
Kelvin. What medicine are you talking about? To study medicine at which level?
Yeah, I think he's.
Is he off?
Where is he? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
because I want to understand if he's talking about coming to start from like with a high school certificate to come and study medicine over here or
No, I don't
something
know.
else.
But what is
Yeah,
the
no.
requirement to study medicine in New Zealand?
Oh,
It's-
like
it's-
to be honest, like I will not encourage. But it's like there's no scholarship for that, and it's
Yes.
very expensive.
and it's very
extremely
competitive to get into.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, I
So
won't recommend it
I don't.
either.
Yep.
Especially
it's
for
very
medical
expensive.
school. It's
Yep.
very expensive. There's no funding, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to even get approval into.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think like with regards to that, China, right, Russia should be
Yeah. Because
affordable.
and the issue is they have a lot of Europeans coming and Americans coming to do that to study medicine here. So those
Yeah.
people generally they can afford the fees already. So because of the market that comes, they don't provide any form of funding for that. And it's
Yeah.
quite medical school everywhere is expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
But like, however, the PhD level, maybe PhD in anatomy,
Yes,
physiology.
that one is
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
they are
that
funding,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are funding for that, and masters in physiology and those, yeah, they are funding. But for medicine, but like they are not. There's no funding for it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Edward, the floor is yours now.
Well, thank you very much for the time. Good evening to you all.
Good evening and thank
Yeah,
you for
once
joining
they-
us again.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything like the school they mentioned. I didn't hear something concerning the education aspect. I don't know whether there's also a school dedicated like that school for business, engineering, and science.
Oh yeah, I know.
How
This Ghanaian who came here recently, Moses. Someone came here. He was a teacher at the St. Monica's Training College. He just started his PhD. He's in the Department of Education, so they have that as well. That's available.
All
Yeah,
right.
and,
okay, thank you.
yeah, and like also if you want like engineering courses to University of Auckland and Massey University are the good places to go.
Yeah, they focus
And
mainly on those courses.
yeah,
So
and
those ones will be good.
if you want like agric economics, like agriculture, you go to Lincoln University.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like Google will help you to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. George.
Okay.
George, you are still on mute, so I think you have to unmute your.
Yeah.
I think we may have to move on for
Yeah.
George.
I've unmuted it. Thank
Okay.
you very much, Chris and Paris. My question is just, since sometimes it's difficult to get some of these details, what would be the minimum amount for someone who wants to study PhD?
Amount. What do you
Okay.
mean amount?
I mean to stay the whole period. If it's 3 years, since you said, I mean, you can get into the country by because
Oh,
it's affordable. Yes,
yeah.
it's
So I
affordable.
think in the business school, a year, I think it's around $7,000 New Zealand dollars. So that will be around maybe 5,000 US dollars. It's going to be a bit higher in the sciences. So it's relatively, when you compare to what international students pay, it's relatively cheaper. Yeah. If you have a good bank statement, they just need a good bank for the visa application process. They just need a good bank statement to indicate that when you come here, you have enough money that you can survive on for the first year, and you can also afford your school fees when you get here. But when you get in here into the country, you can find a good job, work on the weekends, and then be able to pay your school fees. It's going to be hard. No two ways about that. Combining a PhD and working is going to be hard, but I've seen people do it. So yeah, I know people from Pakistan, India, who came with no funding at all, but then they had a good bank statements to get their visa. And when they came, they were able to do it. So yeah, it's possible.
Those guys are superhumans. They can do
Yes,
no work.
yes. No, but that's the thing that mostly the PhDs, you can get a job that was not going to be labor intensive or too stressful.
Okay.
Yeah, there are different range of jobs that you can do. So there's job available. You don't have to do like heavy manual labor, intensive work. You can be able to do, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Oscar.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to know, I am into social science, specifically geography. I want to know whether I can also get an opportunity there to do my PhD. And then the other question too is about the English proficiency test. Can you take it in advance or you have to wait when you get the chance
Mm,
to write it? Does it expire? Thank you.
Yeah, I think English proficiency test expires every 2 years. Yeah, from my knowledge, it expires every 2 years. So when you are ready to apply, then you take that test. From my experience, IELTS is like WASI. So if you did well in WASI and had a B, or A, you would probably pass it quite easily. But then there are practical tests you can take online to prepare yourself, and then be able to use it. But most departments will require you to have it. But like Paris said, if you have that publication evidence, they can use that to vouch for you that you don't need to submit the IELTS test. But other than that, if you don't have, like, he has 5 publications before he started his PhD. That is impressive. But other than, if you don't have that, you would need the IELTS to be able to get in.
Yeah, and to add up, yeah, at University of Otago has a well-established geography department. So I think
Yeah,
you can go to their website and look at how their admission to PhDs is.
yeah.
So, yep.
All right. Thank you so much. Augustine. Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay. My question, my first question has been answered already about the IELT. So the second question, how about the application fees? Is there any way you can
New
waive
Zealand doesn't.
No,
New
New
Zealand
Zealand
doesn't
doesn't
charge.
have
They don't have any
application
application
fees.
fees. There's
Oh,
zero.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I think
All
that's
right.
all. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that. Any other question? We have time to take. There are some 2 questions on the list. Okay, but before the questions, okay. So both Paris and then Chris, LinkedIn details or link have been shared on the chat platform. So I would recommend that you go follow them and then send them a connection request. And if you're not on LinkedIn, please try and create a LinkedIn profile, because most professionals will prefer working or dealing with you on LinkedIn than on Facebook. And in fact, I tried to find Chris on Facebook, but I couldn't. I don't know if he's on Facebook.
If you, yeah, I don't go there. I'm sorry. I have it, but I don't really use it.
Yes. So please, Facebook is good. I mean, sometimes some people combine both Facebook and LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a place that you know that at least 90% of the connections there are going to be professional, though of late other people are also trying to use it to do those kind of scam things they do on Facebook, but it's of course limited compared to Facebook. So please, follow them on LinkedIn, and then you can also see their connections and the things they post. You're going to learn a lot from that as well. So other questions are still invited, but someone is asking, what are the master's program in the health sector? I'm not sure we can list the master's program in the health sector. That is why I stated earlier that please try and do Google search. So for instance, you are looking for master's program in health. So Google master's programs in health in New Zealand. Better still, they said New Zealand just has only 8 universities. It's easy to go to these universities and then and start to look out for the master's programs. I know Otago has health programs. In fact, I've looked at their programs in the past, but I didn't apply. So you can start with University of Otago. You will find public health programs there and whatever master's programs, health programs you are looking out for.
And I think if you come here, the university is part of the top 100 in the world. So it doesn't mean that it's overly competitive to get in, but then it's because like most people will say New Zealand is far. It means that it will also improve your chances of getting in, because people go like, oh, it's far, I won't apply. So if you are interested, if you have your IELTS exams, you have some form of publication. If you don't have the publication, like Vasco said, you can start working on it now and then submit to any good impact factor journal, and then to increase your chances of getting admission and then getting the funding for it. So the health sciences is one of the highest ranked in the world. So it's really good. They have a lot of health science related programs. And if you do a health science related program here, once you are done, your job is just sitting there waiting for you, because they have a huge job vacancy within the health sciences, especially, and engineering as well. So your job will just be sitting there waiting for you to finish and go take it up. So yeah, if you are interested in the health sector, definitely pursue that.
All right. Thank you so much. And someone also asked any info about PharmD. Do you guys know if there are programs in Doctor of Pharmacy?
Yes. Yeah, it's the same, basically almost the similar requirements to the ones that Paris spoke about. They have a PhD in pharmacy and master's in pharmacy as well.
All right. Thank you so much. I think those are the questions in the chat box. Any other question? Otherwise, we'll bring the meeting to a close. We've spent an hour and 30 minutes already. All
If
right.
you have any further questions in the business field, I may not be able to give you good questions in health, but those in the business, I may be able to give you some answers. So you can just reach out and I may be able to help you.
Okay. Someone said, sorry, I joined in late. I heard about the scholarships, but how can you apply for it? Are there links? Are there some links for that? Edinam, the links for scholarships or the scholarship opportunities come through either the university, your department, or the government. And that is the government is between the government of New Zealand and the government of Ghana, probably through the scholarship secretariat. You can check that out. However, from the interaction we had today, we've learned that if you even want to start the application process, and just as I've always told most of you, don't start looking for scholarships, start looking for admission. Admission is the first step. And the requirements for admissions and the requirements for scholarships are mostly inherent because it's not, there's nothing like maybe there's a full scholarship here. They don't just give you the full scholarship because they give full scholarship. No, they give full scholarship based on the total quality of the applicant's application or the applicant's profile. So please start with the search to the department, and as Paris said, before you apply, especially for the Department of the Food Sciences, you can't reach out to a supervisor even by yourself, but you have to reach out to the department and then submit your CV, your transcript, your statement of purpose, and then the proposal based on what you are going to study, so that the department looks at it and see, okay, which of the supervisors or the lecturers in the department can we share this with? And they'll look at it. If they think they like you, then they can advance you to the next stage to apply, have a conversation with you. And then when you are admitted, then you are given the scholarship. So the first stage is to search for admission before you search for the scholarship. I don't know if Paris or Chris want to add something to that.
Yeah, that's it. Get admission first, and then admission first, and then you move on to the scholarship. Someone is asking about bank statement for visa. Should it be your personal bank statement or your uncle or auntie? So when you're applying for the bank statement is for visa, to get your visa. You add a covering letter, and then explain the relation between how that funding, like if the person is your uncle or is your auntie or has sponsored you before, you just add a letter onto that, and then that would make them know that, okay, there's some family relation or something like that. So you can use your uncle or auntie's bank statement. You just need to write a letter indicating that the bank statement you have added is not yours because your name is not on it, and the relationship that that person has to you, to explain to the immigration officer that ABCD, the reason why you want to do that. And I hope that clarifies your question. Another person said, Chris said without funding it will be difficult. How hard? For masters, that I'm saying that it will be a bit difficult. Paris, do you know the average fee for masters international students here? I think it's around 50 or 60,000 a year. The fee is around $60,000 a year. So coughing up $60,000 a year is quite expensive. So that's what I meant by it might be a bit expensive. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but it's just expensive to do compared to the PhD that it's 7,000 a year. So that's what I meant by it will be difficult if you don't get funding for your master's program. Yes,
and like
if your paper is co-authored, it's acceptable.
and
Paris.
like also with regards to the funding, or you said your uncle or this, and the money should be in the bank for some time, because you can't just transfer money today into the bank statement and you print, you know, it will be visible the day the money was into the into that account. So at least it should be in the account for some number of months, probably maybe 3 or 4 months should be fine, because immigration New Zealand are quite strict when
Yeah.
it comes to like that kind of funding, and the follow have to write a letter to say that, oh, you are the this and he has agreed to kind of sponsor you, blah blah blah. So you have to be very careful when it comes to that. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And but with the how hard it is, we cannot measure hardness. It's not a skill.
Yeah.
Even if there's a skill, it's just subjective based on the individual personality.
Yeah.
I mean, as he said, some people come in without funding and they're able to do that. Does not mean that if you go in without funding and you don't put in the required effort required by people who do not have funding, does not mean that you'll be successful, because there is an extra barrier you have to cross. Instead of just focusing on only the studies or the PhD work, now you have to be working outside to pay school fees, not just pay school fees, but also sustain yourself. So if I'm not the kind of person that is able to do that and still survive, you may not be able to do great with it. So just know that when you are going there without scholarship, you are required to give in your all, and your all must meet the requirement or the criteria for those who do not have the funding and they are doing it. I've said this before, and but I mean, close to me, maybe from myself or other people, that I came to study. I did not study on full scholarship, on partial scholarship. But what was even considered as partial scholarship is not what wasn't partial scholarship. I had to pay a semester fee of over $11,000, and that was a lot of money. But I did it. But I don't encourage anyone to do it. Or if you ask me, I will not tell you whether you can do it or you cannot do it, because the individual differences vary a lot. I used to travel 3 hours to school and 3 hours back. I'm not sure someone will be willing to do that, because you are spending 6 hours of your life 3 times a week on train or public transport back to and from school. These are individual hassles that you should be ready to face. It's not like, oh, because they said without funding you can do well in the PhD or you can still survive in the PhD. That not mean. Otherwise, also in the masters, because they said it's higher, does not mean that if you're able to get in and you work hard, you won't be able to handle it. It's just everyone and their individual way of handling stress that comes with them. Okay. Someone is asking, would the grantor have to be in New Zealand? That is, I'm sure, with regards to the bank statement.
No, you don't need to be in New Zealand. I didn't know anybody when I was applying, even though I got the funding, I still added my own personal bank statement, and then I added my elder brother's bank statement as well, just to make sure that I was just trying to make sure that I cover all my bases, that the immigration officer will not say anything, because even though I had scholarship funding and I had added my original bank statement, they go back to me and then they say that please provide any additional information or your application will be rejected in the next 2 weeks. So I contacted my older brother. I didn't know anybody in New Zealand, and then he gave me his bank statement and I added it to it, and then all of those other ones. So yeah, the person does not need to be here.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think other more questions, otherwise we'll wrap up in the next 2 minutes. Okay, and maybe whilst we are waiting to see any further questions, final words from Chris and Parise, and then we'll close the meeting in the next 1 minute.
Okay, so I think my final words will be that try to ask questions. Like if you are doing something then you don't get it, try to reach out to someone and just kind of ask. There's no harm in asking. And also, if you write your statement of purpose, please let someone proofread it for you.
Yes.
And a lot of Ghanaians, you have that kind of pride. Oh, why would I give my destiny to so and so? You will look down upon me. No, that pride will not send you anywhere. But reaching out to people will help improve the content, and that will kind of increase your chances of getting a scholarship. Yeah. So I think that is my closing remarks here. And good to have all of you here.
All right, thank you. Chris.
Yeah, what I would say is that just similar to what Paris said, don't submit any of your documents without someone proofreading it for you. Have someone read over before you submit it. It has helped me, and I'm sure it will help you as well, because there are times where you find very little mistakes that because you've been working on it so long, you don't see those typographical errors, and all those things matter. So have someone proofread your work. Look at the specific requirements that departments are requiring, because like I said, even in the business school, the various departments have different requirements. Some require you to reach out to the supervisor first, others don't require you to do that. So look at what they want and then get your documents. Most of the time, the documents are similar. Your CV, your certificates, the English test, your statement of purpose, or personal statement, they are quite similar. So when you get them, the other thing is you need to edit it in a way that suits where you are sending it. Usually you see people send very general ones to everywhere. No, try and look at the department, what they are doing, and bring something in the department to add to that cover letter, specifically as to how you being there would benefit you, that anyone, you can find that information online. So edit it in a way that is targeted towards just them. You can have a general one that you have as a blueprint, but edit it to target to those specific places. And yeah, all the best to all of you. If you need help, just reach out. Yeah.
Wow. Chris and Paris, I'm extremely grateful, and I'm out of words that, you guys made it possible for this. I'm extremely happy and grateful that you made your time out. And for those of you who did not join early, the time is 8 a.m. That is on Sunday morning. While they are still here, they join us at 7. What it meant was that they had to be ready at least by 6:45, means that they sacrificed some sleep off and had to be here with you. So please, let's ensure that we put this information that we got into relevant use. There will not be any excellence if we spend 1 hour, 2 hours having this conversation, and at the end of the day or during the next round of application to New Zealand, we don't have at least 10 people from this call or 10 people from this informing other people from their network to attempt applying to New Zealand to study. Of course, the impact of this will not be necessary. So please, let's try as much as possible to put in the best of this weekend. And I really appreciate you all for joining. Let's continue to do so. Next week, we'll hopefully be doing study in Australia, which is very similar to this, but we'll get some people also from there to share with us. So please feel free to join. And I will start opening my personal LinkedIn page or room on Sundays around 12 p.m. Ghana time. That one, we are going to have an informal conversation. If you come in and you have any personal question, like maybe searching for schools, writing personal statement, we can play around together with you and then have that sorted out. So tomorrow, we'll start tomorrow at 12 p.m. Ghana time. You can find the link on our WhatsApp group or on my status, and then you join, and then we have that informal conversation. So thank you so much, Paris and Chris, and thank you everyone. And this meeting is officially over. Thank you.